So I'm just jumping in at the beginning of this video to say it's something a little bit different this week, which has led from and was inspired by all your comments on last week's video. I had a whole other vlog planned for this week, but I ended up talking about something really important, so that's what I'm sharing for this video. It does have grey areas and is slightly controversial and taboo in a way, and I feel it shouldn't be. It's a really important area for all creatives, and my intention for sharing my thoughts around this is to shine a spotlight, right onto this darker issue. I hope I treat it with the sensitivity it deserves, and as always, I love hearing your thoughts, opinions and experiences, so do feel free to share and leave them down below. So I've read a load of your comments from last week's video. I haven't replied to any yet, to be honest, because I was trying to limit my time on social media, funnily enough. But some of the comments that I've read were really interesting, talking about how other people are also feeling, similar things, and what should they share, and is it too vulnerable, and that kind of thing. And I think, yes, we do have to consider very carefully what we do and don't share out there. And if indeed we actually want to share anything at all, that's another, key point. And I think, even those of us that do want to share out there and do want to give a kind of authentic picture of what's going on, I think there are times, even within that there are negative things that crop up. Certainly for people I talk to, and also for myself as well. And I was thinking maybe I didn't talk about those in the last video too much, so maybe I should talk about those a little bit more. So one of the main things I get asked about regarding the negative aspects of, say, having a YouTube channel, for example, but it could be any form of social media platform, is what do you do with the negativity? What do you do with negative comments? What do you do with aggressive comments? Or anything like that. And I am really, really lucky, touch wood. I very rarely get anything at all that's horrible, that's unkind, that's, meant with a bad intention, if you like. Sometimes I get sort of questions I find a little bit strange or unusual, but it tends to be quite genuine questions, even if, somebody could take it the wrong way. So I tend to look at those things with, if I can, a positive light. And then now and again there's the odd thing that comes through that is obviously meant to hurt or harm, or with an intention of being unkind, if you like. And does it bother me? I guess of course it's going to upset me a little bit, but I really try and shift my attention away from it as soon as possible. And so I might have a little chat with James and say, oh, I've got this funny comment, I don't like this very much, or and let him know about it. And then once I've kind of shared that with him, I can then forget about it. And then, delete or block is always there if you should need to as well. So there's always an element of control over that. Have I blocked anybody? I think I've blocked one person. Yes, I've blocked one person. So I think another negative thing that can happen once you start, building your audience online, and you've got maybe a broader, wider audience. I mean, it can happen if you've just got a small audience as well. But you tend to get people copying you, copycats, imitators. Plagiarism is another word for it, isn't it? And this is something that I get asked about quite a lot as well. What do you do? And in fact, I get messages sometimes from people letting me know that somebody's copying me. And, as an artist, the obvious way of somebody copying you is when they're copying your actual artwork. But there's so many ways that you can be copied, imitated, if you like. And it doesn't mean that they're not crossing a copyright law and a copyright boundary, and that you actually have rights if you look up the laws in your country. That's why I copyright everything I do. So I think, with retrospect of what I was talking about last week, it's really another important thing to mention, to protect yourself, protect your work, copyright things, look up copyright law, and just do a little bit of homework about it. Because you could end up in a position where you do need to protect your work. So say, I don't know, I've just got this painting here. So say if somebody just copied my painting completely and then started selling it as if that it was their own, rather than copying an artist that they're then going to hashtag or, link at, whoever it is. We've talked about in the past the difference between doing a piece of art, copying another artist or creator as an educational practice and not selling that, to the direct copying of somebody's work and acting as if it's your own ideas and things like that. So what are the other ways that people copy you then? I think I had a few infringements of copyright. And one of them James wasn't happy about at all. And it was basically somebody with I think it was a clothing, sort of online clothing shop. And they had printed off one of my girls. I don't know if it was this one. I don't know whether it was that one. And printed them off and made their little clothing labels out of them and hadn't asked permission. And they had quite a big web shop. And so how did I find out about it? I think what happened actually was that the person who owned the shop emailed me and said, could they use my labels? And I looked at their shop and they were already using them. So even though it felt really honourable that person had said, may I use them, they'd already started using them without permission. So yeah, that wasn't very good. So I asked them to not use them. And I said I was disappointed that they were using them before, they were given permission, if you like. So it didn't feel honourable, the sense of it. Just because obviously you can't just print someone's work off and use it in whatever way you want. I mean, I could, grab some amazing artist and make, some prints and say, yeah, I'm selling these, they're mine. It's just totally immoral, isn't it? And unhonourable. So how else can other people copy then? I think ideas they can copy. So any of your ideas or any of the things that relate really to you. So for me, what do? I do artwork, I paint, and I art journal and journal. So I've been doing all those things for years and years and years. And I've noticed quite recently, actually, somebody contacted me and said, did you know that this person is basically copying a lot of your ideas? And so they're not copying my work, they're copying my ideas. And it could be things like, little things like, what people relate regularly to you, which is part of your branding. They're part of what makes you uniquely you, if you like. And we're saying here, the odd thing doesn't really matter, but when somebody's picking up on pretty much every single thing that you do and all your ideas, and so then it becomes really apparent. And so, somebody got in touch with me and said, this person is copying all your ideas. They're doing art journaling and prompts and things like that. They're using your hashtags. They are copying anything I paint. So the subject matter that I've been doing. So my Flower Power project, for example, so many things are being imitated. And so I think, it's one of those things, isn't it, where you might have somebody out there that's just maybe really inspired and they just pick up one little thing that you've been doing, for example, and they're picking up a few little things from different sources of inspiration. We all naturally get inspired, and this is quite a grey area and something that's quite difficult, I think, for a lot of creators to talk about. Lee Ellickson was talking about it on her video a few weeks ago, and she also has been getting messages from people saying, look, people are ripping off your ideas and your artwork. And you can look around and there's artists imitating her video style, the way she talks on her vlogs, the way that her thumbnails look and things like that on her YouTube channel. And it's not really on. And so I really felt for her, and I put a little comment on there as well to support her. So what can you do then? What can you do? I think, for me, when I see it happening, I send a message to the artist, or I hashtag that artist. So, for example, a few months ago, about 6 months ago, I was flicking through my Instagram and I saw a painting that I really liked, and I liked it thinking it was another artist, and it was somebody copying them, so closely imitating their actual paintings. And so, and I'd already liked it at this point, so I put a little comment and I put, I really love this painting, it reminds me of, and then put at the artist to let them know. I think it's really important to let the artist know. So I wasn't addressing it to the person that was doing the copyright infringement, which is a legal thing. So please bear that in mind as well. If it's happening to you, there are things that you can do about it. I think I just wanted to let the artist know that this was happening, and then they get to choose, don't they, how they want to address that, or whether they do or not. And of course, in this vast barrel of worms that is copyright law and copyright infringement, with the fact that social media is puts so many people out there. And so, if people see somebody doing quite well at something, they might think, well, I could do that and jump on board. But it's not quite that simple. And I think, so for me, I think one of the reasons that, say, for example, my journaling has been really popular and has sparked a lot of conversation and helped grow my community, I think the reason that that's the case is because I've been doing it for years. And so it's just me being my authentic self. And so many times I talk about, when people say to me, how do you find your style, and how do you find your rhythm, and how do you, build up your art process, your creativity, how do you go and shine your light out there? And I always say the same thing, which is go within truly and soul search. And yes, be inspired by all the things that you can be inspired by. There's some wonderful creators out there, and be inspired. I love those colours and I love those flowers. I might go and take some photographs of some chrysanthemums because I've seen an artist do some and it's inspired me to do it. But don't just copy their painting, and don't copy all of somebody's ideas. Don't become so sort of targeted on one person. Make sure you're using multiple sources of inspiration, and sources of inspiration from yourself as well. So what's coming from within and wants to come out. And I think that's where you find your true style and where you authentically shine out there, and then other people are going to pick up on that. And I think that's key. Within the grey area of, copyright and copyright law, there is so many different opinions, and, I don't want to sort of give an opinion on it. I would rather be quite open and say there are a lot of grey areas. And if somebody can see, say, for example, listen to a piece of music or look at a painting or a drawing and see another artist in that, I think that's where lines may be crossed that maybe shouldn't be crossed. I think, when I've seen it happening to me, so, I've not really been on YouTube that long. I've been on YouTube, I think my channel started to pick up about a year ago. From right now. And so once that started to pick up, I started to have people, say, imitating what I was doing, how I was saying things, what I was sharing, artwork, subject matter, hashtags, all sorts of things. And 99.9% of the time it didn't bother me. And that's still true now. The majority of it is just ignore it. But now and again, I think if somebody is infringing in quite a big way, in a repetitive, long-term, multi-aspect way, if you like, I think then it can be a problem. And so what can we do about it? So I watched a Vanessa Lau video, and she talks about this, and it's a really good video on it. And I don't know copyright law or anything like that, and I've never gone to court with anybody, so, it's not an area that I'm an expert in. So I will link that video down below as well, because it really helped me. And she talks about in that video, how not to be afraid to give someone a friendly nudge and message them and say, I have noticed. because I think that's often enough. And, you know, maybe 9 times out of 10, that person doesn't really realise. They might be doing it sort of without full consciousness. And so we can give them the benefit of the doubt, can't we? But it doesn't mean that we can't take action. And obviously in a serious case of copyright infringement, then that could mean a court case and a legal situation, couldn't it? I think artists and creators should definitely have the natural right to put their work out there and safeguard it as well. And so, yeah, a little bit of savvy is unfortunately needed, I think, on certain occasions. So I think then to conclude this little Wendy waffle on, or Wendy's wonderings around it, because I am curious around, you know, people's intentions behind, you know, why they might copy another artist's work and things like that. And is it for inspiration? Is it for an educational purpose? Is it because they're still learning and growing? Are they hashtagging the artist and giving credit where it's due? You know, all that stuff is, I think, completely honourable. So it's about the intention of it. But if it's about stealing somebody's ideas and the intention isn't an honourable one, then I think sometimes that does need addressing, doesn't it? But I think suffice to say, out of the two negative things that I've been talking about so far, you know, the negative comments or the plagiarism and copyright infringement, I think the copyright infringement happens, certainly to me, more than the negative comments. And so it's that one that's more of a bigger deal, really. And I think my one little takeaway from this, if you like, from my talking about this, my little nugget of advice would be, you know, see how it feels for you. So if it is happening to you, notice how you feel about it. Does it matter enough to you for you to want to address it and give somebody a friendly nudge, send them a message or something like that? And I think underlying that knowing, that feeling, if you like, is our intuitive wisdom and asking ourselves the question of what we feel the intention of that person is. Is it honourable or is it copyright infringement? And so I think that's the key question to ask. I have only nudged 2 people, and that was right at the beginning of my YouTube journey, actually. And so, do I think I did the right thing with those 2 nudges? Yes, looking back, I did. One of them was the labels that I was telling you about earlier. And yeah, the other one was copying a lot of stuff. And so, yeah, a careful, thoughtful nudge was needed, and it was a good thing because, you know, it stopped it. So I got the outcome that I needed without having to go down any legal tunnels, if you like. And I wasn't planning to talk about this at all in this vlog. I maybe would have made a video in the future about copyright and copyright infringement, and I think there's a lot more to say on it, which I'm no expert in, so I can only talk about my own experiences, my own opinions, and my own thoughts and feelings about it. And I think we all need to sort of ask ourselves the same thing, don't we? How we feel about it. And what might bother one person might be okay for someone else, because we're all made differently, aren't we? And so, unless it's blatant plagiarism, I think we're all in the same boat about that one, aren't we? And I wouldn't want anybody, any creator out there, to be really ripped off and copied. I think it's completely unacceptable. Yeah. But it's not the easiest topic to talk about, because obviously it's, yeah, a huge negative. It is important though, isn't it, that we talk about it as creators. And at the same time, we can watch each other's backs, can't we? You know, every little painting, every little piece of art that we do, it takes time. It takes time to learn our craft. It takes time to figure out what colours work for us. It takes time to figure out composition and style and all that stuff. And so if somebody is just literally ripping off everything you do, then yeah, it really does need addressing. And so, yeah, I felt it was something quite important to talk about. And also, you know, if it has happened to you, feel free to leave me a comment and let me know, you know, your own experiences and thoughts about it as well, because, yeah, I know it happens all the time, unfortunately. So I've just found a really nice paragraph by Danielle, I'm not going to be saying this right, but Koepke, Danielle Koepke. I'll put the name on the screen, and it's called Your Unique Journey. And I'm not sure where I picked this up from, but yeah, I've just found it in my journal now, so I just thought I'd read it out. Rubbing my hands together because I'm cold. Get something on. I've got my cardi that my mum knitted me, and it's so snuggly and warm, so let's just wrap up in that. So it says, stop comparing where you're at with where everyone else is. It doesn't move you farther ahead, improve your situation, or help you find peace. It just feeds your shame, fuels your feelings of inadequacy, and ultimately it keeps you stuck. The reality is that there is no one correct path in life. Everyone has their own unique journey. A path that's right for someone else won't necessarily be the path that's right for you. And that's okay. Your journey isn't right or wrong, or good or bad. It's just different. Your life isn't meant to look like everyone else's because you aren't like anyone else. You're a person all on your own with a unique set of goals, obstacles, dreams, and needs. So stop comparing and start living. You may not have ended up where you intended to go, but trust for once that you have ended up where you needed to be. Trust that you are in the right place at the right time. Trust that your life is enough. Trust that you are enough. That's really lovely, isn't it? And that basically sort of sums up everything I've been saying about our own unique gifts and shining our own light. So I think my best advice is, if you're wondering about sharing on social media and, maybe building up your business or wanting to share your creativity online, make sure you're ready. Make sure you're ready to share, and don't share until you are. Make sure you know what you want to share, and it doesn't have to be finished or perfect or polished. You can share the journey of getting there, and I think people are really interested in that. And I think we all feel it in our hearts, don't we, when we're ready to share. And if it's from the heart, then you can't go wrong, can you? And as the Oscar Wilde quote says, be yourself, everyone else is taken. I think I'd just like to say as well a couple of other things in the sense of, the positive aspects of putting yourself out there, because, I don't want to put anyone off with, all this negativity and stuff. And while I do think it's really important to talk about it, I don't want to put anyone off that's just maybe on the cusp of sharing what they've been doing and, shining a little bit of their light out on the social media platforms, because it's such a small percentage compared to all the good stuff that I've experienced, certainly, by putting myself out there. Yeah, it comes back to that thing, doesn't it, where the majority that I've experienced anyway of building up my Instagram, for example, or here on the YouTube, certainly the specialness of the Patreon page as well. All I can say, my experience of it, of the community aspect of it, is it feels like a big circle of love. That's how it feels. And I love having cups of tea with you and cups of coffee with you, and it's all cozy. And, quite often in the comments I'll get, oh yes, I had a little coffee with you earlier. And I just think it's really, really special. So I appreciate every one of you. And I just wanted to raise a little bit of awareness and, shed some light onto a darker issue, if you like. And also just reiterate that it's a really tiny, tiny percentage of all the good that happens when you're ready to share out there. I know I said it last week, but I really, really believe that we all have our unique gifts to share. And it's truly beautiful if we can put things out there to brighten up someone's day, lift someone's spirit, bring some beauty into their world as well, and maybe some inspiration as well. So there's so many good aspects about it as well. And I think it's like anything, isn't it? There's always going to be positives and negatives. And so it's weighing up and having a balance with those. And, if it's more positives, which it is for me, then, you know, I'm going to continue to do what I've been doing because I absolutely love it and I love the community. And I really appreciate you keeping me company and watching the videos and supporting me here on the YouTube. So thank you so, so much. So I really can't get warm now and I'm starting to feel quite cold. So I think I'm going to leave you in peace for now and say goodbye. And so I hope you have a really good week. Try to keep your lights shining bright. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now. Bye for now.